pray that you're well. Here I am with my old bike. I love this bike. I donated it actually a few years ago to a bazaar at Centennial Christian School, and Chad McDonald bought it. He probably doesn't even actually know I have it yet because I found out from his mom where it is. So maybe in a different video I can do something on it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. But that aside, when I bought this bike, I was going into grade 9. It's a Centurion Ironman, Dave Scott expert, and Dave Scott was kind of a big deal. He won a bunch of Hawaii Ironmans back in the 80s. And then, so I had this bike, and I think it was grade 11. Yeah, it was grade 11 that I put 10,000 kilometers on this bike in 1 year. Somewhere around 200 kilometers a week. And, I'd bike with my friends. I'd bike to and from school. It was kind of my commuter bike. I'd bike the 42 kilometers each way to Ladner to go see Ella. And then my record time for the 13-kilometer commute back and forth from school was, again, this is downhill on the way home, was 18 minutes getting home one day. And so then when I see and I hold on to this bike, it probably doesn't surprise you that I can get a bit of nostalgia. Nostalgia is kind of a funny thing. For the Israelites, if we think about their nostalgia in the wilderness, it was kind of paralyzing for them. And nostalgia can be spiritually paralyzing, I think, for us too in so many ways. It can leave us in a place of being stuck. For the Israelites, after the euphoria of crossing over the Red Sea and that had kind of subsided, the reality of wilderness life, kind of everyday life set in, and the people, they yearned for bread and the flesh pots of Egypt, and then God gave them manna. But then they ate manna day after day, and their cravings grew stronger and maybe more specific, and so they wanted fish and cucumbers and leeks and onions and garlic. And then God gave them quail, but even that, right, their culinary longings, maybe that kind of awoke something in them a bit deeper. They wanted the stable, predictable rhythms of the life that they had known for 400 years back in Egypt. And nostalgia, in effect, kind of consumed them. They longed for the stable, kind of predictable rhythms of this life that they had known in Egypt for 400 years. And that nostalgia consumed them, right? To the point that they really kind of lost sight of why that God might have even delivered them in the first place. And then the whole golden calf debacle at Mount Sinai, when the Israelites misremembered the past, right? Their old world was gone. Their new world was this kind of wilderness of uncertainty. And they're consumed by this nostalgia. And they just kind of overlook so easily the 400 years of bondage, and they lost their moral bearings entirely, such that they thought that this idol, this golden calf, would be this great idea. In some ways we're not that far from this kind of misremembering of the Israelites, right? We can idealize the past. We can try to live in the present in a way that just focuses a lot on the past. And there's no doubt that nostalgia can be a really good thing, right? It can replenish us. I mean, who hasn't felt this kind of replenishment from being with old friends? But also unbridled, unchecked nostalgia can make us kind of cling to a golden calf that reminds us of the past, instead of recognizing the pillars of cloud and fire that guide us through the current and present circumstances of our lives. When I remember that I gave up this bike, sometimes I think, I wish I still had it, right? It's kind of emblematic of this kind of golden past. This weekend I also went on a short bike trip up the X2. And yesterday I went for a run, and then I probably didn't drink enough in the afternoon. And so as a result, last night I had this tremendous leg cramp while I was hosting a public lecture on Zoom, right? One of those kind of, I don't know if you've had those wincing, writhe in your seat leg cramps. And I had to shut off my video, and I just kind of hoped that nobody could hear me squeal. And maybe some of that gives me a little perspective on any lingering nostalgia I have for the past, right? I'm not 15, right? My daily commute is 400 meters, not 13 kilometers. And thankfully, Ella no longer lives 42 kilometer bike ride away anymore. I mean, still, I look at this bike and I think about God's faithfulness in the past. Also as a sure sign that in this present time, God will be faithful in a new way. And I look for other kind of clear fire and pillar in the sky kind of signs of God's presence today. Maybe by providing me with an e-bike in my old age. Who knows? The peace of Christ be with you all.
Bicycle, bicycle, bicycle. I want to ride my bicycle, bicycle, bicycle.
Make the Wednesday sermon.